what I've seen many times is that when organizations go kind of rather conservative and they get, the top 200, 300 people, then normally what happens is that they get excited and they get asked, or they do it by themselves. They replicate this anyway, many, many times in their local offices, sometimes kind of losing some part of the message in translation as they just take it to their people. When you manage to actually get them into one, when they hear it for the first time together, there is a completely different energy, and the buy-in is much greater, making it easier when they go back to the office to say, listen, so what happened when we were in Lisbon or in London last week? How can we now reproduce that, giving our reality? And that's where I always say, this is what I talk about, the moments of truth. You need to, at the same time as that is happening, almost drive the alignment of all the moments of truth in our organization to that vision. So, because otherwise, those are the things that are going to take away that excitement very easily. They sap the energy. And that has to do with, your awards, your rewards, your training, your comps, your recruitment, your promotions, every single element in your HR lifespan. And also other moments of truth that doesn't get managed, they don't get managed by HR, like, your internal business meetings and how you prioritize work. Everything needs to be coherent with that. Otherwise, that conversation that you created will be fighting against the rituals and the processes. And of course, they're going to win. They'll win because people will be afraid of missing out on their bonuses or on their promotions. So that huge coherence, I think is very important. And when we did this right, you can see that the next time the organization gets together, they recognize the new culture and how that culture has driven the business in a particular direction. And they can fine tune and adjust and learn and keep moving the bar, which is very exciting.
And there's a couple of things on that which just made me think. The idea of virtual meetings is something that I have to say, one of my fondest projects ever was to try and connect an EMEA organization. They had all contributed to the success of a 10-year vision. And the brief was, we want to recognize the success of this, but we want to recognize everybody's part in that. And there wasn't going to be the opportunity to bring 4,500 people to one location. But the challenge had been set. If I can watch Netflix at whatever time of day or night and it's flawless, why can I not connect all of my countries together for this moment of recognition? And I have to say, it was the most daunting thing at the time. But this idea of we set out with a very clear purpose collectively to make this happen for the organization. The first time in their history, they would all be together to recognize the moment. So the solution ended up being, we piggybacked the 16 sales conferences that were starting the years in all the countries from the Nordics down to South Africa, from Russia to Portugal. And the content we pushed out to the countries to say, tell us a moment you were inspired, surprised, and felt proud to work for the organization. And they could submit that anyway, little short films, poems, letters, whatever. And we were amazed, we got 535 of the 4,500 submit stories. And of the stories, the amount that focused on camaraderie over and above necessarily the purpose blew us away. You know, people wanted to talk about, remember the time when there was an ash cloud and we got stuck in Barcelona and we hired buses and we drove our customers back to their homes. The office went on fire, you know, like all of that. And it was a hugely uniting thing. So the smallest office in South Africa suddenly felt really proud because they contributed, you know, like, let's say it was 70% of their operation had contributed to the stories that got told that day. But that moment of just being able to see and hear from everybody was incredible. It was, you know, the equivalent of the Eurovision Song Contest, but with real meaningful material, I would say.
That's very good. And it's lovely when they you're talking about camaraderie, but camaraderie that emerges in the realm of purpose, because it's camaraderie about what they did for a customer.
Yes.
No camaraderie on, wow, we had amazing and an amazing night out and we got drunk together.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's, you know, we pulled together when the stakes were, you know, high, when we had no resources, when we were struggling with that, you know, crash in the IT, in our IT platform. We pulled together. But if you look at this and what makes people proud, and then pull together and get true collaboration, is because they have a very strong connection with a purpose, not with a slogan. It's not the slogan.
Yeah.
It's the true purpose. It's, gosh, I don't know what the industry you're talking about, but we were able to get the customers out when in the ashes, probably transport and travel. We were able to get them out. And that is what fills up a human being's heart. And then you can stretch, you can work hard, you can come up with ideas. That's when it makes you most innovative. Not because you get a bonus for innovation or a little training course on agility. You know, you'll be agile as a consequence of being relentless or having a relentless focus on adding value to whoever you want to add value to. Yeah. Which is never yourself. And you heard me say this, it's not about yourself.
Well, you know, this is brilliant because it links into that. We've looked at all the work that we have done, where the greatest impact is, where our passion is, and your passion clearly as well. You know, we can really make an impact for the employees, but at the same time, for the business is win-win. Because if you remind people of that purpose, it's amazing then how they start to become agile, because they start going, but remember, the reason we exist is to do this or that.
And if you think about it, that is what connects people who are frontline and people who are in the back office equally. Because if the person who is sitting behind a desk, you know, what I call the engine room mindset. You know, you are down there, you can't see your clients, you can't touch what a customer really does. But when you start to connect with the purpose and understand, you know, as I experienced recently, an actuary in a big insurance company being passionate about his calculations so that somebody else, a commercial person, could make promises that they could later on honor, so that an underwriter can pay a claim. That whole chain of value, where you have to connect all the bits to understand, yeah, it's great, I love this place, I get great coffee and a good career, and it looks great on my CV to work here, and that's good stuff, and they pay me good money. But also, I'm making this company resilient, I'm making this company stay here for another 100 years and make money. And this is good, the shareholders are very happy. And also, and equally, is we're making millions of people's lives more resilient by selling peace of mind. And we do it as we are in the business of selling peace of mind. And that shared purpose that permeates the individual, organizational, and then social elements of purpose is what gets all this garbage that we normally have to deal with, which is, gosh, us and them and the islands of power and the not enough and engagement going down and people, talent leaving or struggling to get talent back in, or getting people to innovate. We put, digital stuff, lots of analytics, and people don't use the analytics or they don't share their data because they fear that they will be made redundant or less powerful. So unless purpose is what's underpinning everything else, all the other bits will struggle to show up.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the beauty of the work that we get to do, which is to engage people in that conversation of purpose, but not as I don't know if you've seen these things, and not as a box ticking exercise.
No, exactly. Examples would be, functions is effectively just forced to be together, and each of those functions coming along pretty much with a arms folded, like, I'm going to sit here and let's see what this is going to be like.
Absolutely.
But when purpose was brought to life right up front, you saw it, you joined us in the second day for that, but it was amazing. The arms dropped. There was this sort of like, oh yeah, what I'm doing is for that. And actually that person sat there and everybody around my table, we may not agree on day to day, but actually we were, we're all behind the greater purpose. We just forgot. We forgot what it was, or we're too busy fighting our corners about things that don't really, not that they don't really matter, but you know what I mean.
Reinforcing the very old model that you have to kind of balance work and life.
Yeah.
Because work is a pain in the neck, and therefore you need to be compensated for it. Well, those cultures don't make it. They really don't make it. They can look successful today. They know that, fast forward a few years, they won't have the speed of change and the appetite and the bite and the commitment to turn around and drive and reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
And again, it's down to purpose, but not a slogan purpose, like a real purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so there's a few things for me, the series that we're writing on, picking up on specific bits that we've spoke about here. One is employee engagement has never been higher, but yet nothing's particularly changing in terms of performance. So we're starting to see briefs and it'll be said, our engagement scores could not be any higher, but nothing's changing around here. And the difference is because, yes, engagement in the sense that people know more about what the organization's doing or what's going on is a passive thing. And that's why we talk about activation, which is because of knowing that I'm now going to do this. And that's the real difference. The second being internal comms professionals being seen to be just the conduit to getting a message out, as opposed to, genuinely being the people who can create change. Like for some reason they don't have, all too often they don't have a seat at the executive level.
Correct.
So therefore all the decisions and discussions are had, and then they're told to communicate the strategy or the change, transition, whatever it's going to be. So that's a big thing for us, is they're doing fantastic work, but handcuffed.
I was going to say the hands tied, almost ring-fenced to, listen, you own the channel, you own the newsletters and the intranet, and deal with that. And you are a one-way communicator. Yeah. And then you can, at best, run a survey and tell us back what people think, which is a very old way of thinking. And I know there's a lot of comms people who are brilliant, who would say, this is exactly what I'm frustrated about, because I can see that, for my message to convert into true engagement, I would need to actually talk to somebody outside my remit and get them to change something. We need to change the way we recruit somebody, or to promote somebody else, or manage people daily, or to change the behaviors of the senior team, for example.